Hey, it's John. Welcome back to the show, and welcome to the latest edition of the Latter Day Album series. The premise of this series is to talk about Latter Day albums and a band's long catalog that don't get enough love or recognition. I'm going back to my heavy metal youth on this one. I'm flying solo to talk about an album that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Album that won a poll to be on the Contrarians a few years ago. It was my topic, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I'm going to rectify that right now and give this band their due. Today, we're talking about Megadeth. And the latter day album I am going to discuss today is Endgame. Endgame was released on September 15, 2009 on Roadrunner Records. This would be Megadeth's 12th album. This would hit number 8 on the Billboard Top 200 album charts in the United States. It would hit number 4 in Canada, hit number 11 in Australia, and hit number in the top 40 throughout the world. To me, a true return to form. This combines their great thrash music of the 80s through the early part of the 90s with the more melodic hard rock and heavy metal that comprise their early to mid 90s albums. The members of Megadeth who play on this album are the incomparable Dave Mustaine on vocals, piano, lead rhythm, and acoustic guitars, Chris Broderick on lead rhythm and acoustic guitars, James Lomenzo on bass guitar, Sean Drover on drums and percussion. Dave and James are still in the band in 2026. James would leave the band after this album. David Ellefson, the original bass player, would come back. And then in 2022, David Ellefson was asked to leave, and James went back into the bass player position. This is Chris Broderick's first album with Megadeth as a lead guitar player. Sean Drover played on several albums by Megadeth as a drummer and percussionist. So here's a picture of the band at that point. This is Chris, this is Dave, this is Sean, and this is James. This was produced by Andy Sneap and Dave Mustaine. If you're a hardcore, old school heavy metal guy, you're very familiar with Andy Sneap's work. Andy Sneap has produced the last several albums by Judas Priest, by Saxon, and by Accept. He is actually a touring member with Judas Priest the last several years. He's been filling in for Glenn Tipton, who was one of their original guitar players, but Glenn Tipton is now just writing with the band. He's no longer touring because he has Parkinson's disease. So, Endgame, top 5 Megadeth album, in my humble opinion. Let's talk about the tracks here. We open with a great 1-2 punch in Dialectic Chaos into This Day We Fight. Now, this 1-2 punch of a blistering instrumental into a wicked thrash song, they seem familiar to you if you're a Megadeth fan, because that's what started So Far, So Good, So What, which was their third album. That started with the 1-2 punch of Into the Lungs of Hell, into Set the World Afire. So we're going back to that sound 21 years later with these two tracks. For my money, this 1-2 is stronger than that 1-2 was. The trading off of solos by Dave and Chris here are masterful, wicked. Chris Broderick, wicked guitar player. He was only there for a little while, and then he left the band. And I don't think that his work or his contributions to Megadeth are given enough recognition. He is a fantastic guitar player. We hear a lot about Marty Friedman and a little bit about Chris Poland. That makes sense, but I would put Chris Broderick next to both of those guys as far as they're playing in Megadeth. But these are both wicked tracks. This Day We Fight just comes in on a dime right after that long lead guitar line at the end of Dialectic Chaos. And Dave sounds absolutely furious and wicked here. He is on point lyrically. He's talking about what he doesn't like with the world, talking about what's going on with the world. At this point, we were going through a recession here in the United States. It was it wasn't a good time economically here in the United States. And Dave is really on point here. The lyrics on This Day We Fight are scorching. His delivery is very, very menacing. Wicked chorus on this. This 1-2 punch destroys. Next, we go a little more melodic in 44 minutes. Great riffs on here. The great stop-start rhythm really works well. Excellent chorus on this. To me, this should have been the first single on the album. We'll talk about those singles a little bit later, but this is a wicked track. It kicks ass. Great riffs on here. The whole performances by all the band members are outstanding. 1320, we're going back into thrash again. Song's more about drag racing, and it is wicked. The riffs are wonderful here, as is the delivery. They are just on point, so tight, menacing. I mean, this is something that would have fit in on Rust in Peace. This is that good. Excellent track. Bite the Hand is more about the riffs again. Little more melodic than 1320, but just as menacing. It kicks. Another strong chorus. Great set of lyrics from Dave on here. Playing is magnificent. Chris's solos on here are wonderful. When we go into Bodies, Bodies, maybe my least favorite song on the album, but it's still good. It's more mid-tempo and menacing. It's good. I would definitely not say this is filler. This is certainly a stronger track than some of the lesser known tracks that you hear on some of the albums that sold a little more. Like, I would take this song over a few of the tracks on Euthanasia, for example, or definitely Cryptic Writings. Endgame, what a wicked title track. This is a killer. The riffs on here, the delivery, magnificent. If you listen to these lyrics on here, they are as important in 2026 as I record this as they were back in 2009. Very, very political, very, very topical. The chorus is a scorcher. It is a kick-ass track. The playing is wonderful. Awesome. Then we get into the hardest part of Letting Go, Sealed with a Kiss. This would be the epic, and maybe you could say the ballad of the album, although it's probably too dramatic to say it's just a ballad, even though love is a very important part of this song. The keyboards that are on here, they are replicating what a string section would do, and they're being played by Mark Newby Ronson. I just wanted to check the liner notes to give him proper credit for that. This is a very, very cool track. It does have a great presentation. The drumming on this is magnificent. The drumming from Sean on some of these tracks, some of the drama he's bringing in, some of the fills, like on this track and on Endgame, very, very strong. This is a very, very cool song here. Dave's trying to be, singing a little bit more like a ballad. He has a voice that's very raging. When he goes a little, he sings a ballad. I mean, it's Dave. It's not quite the greatest voice for a ballad, but Dave is a very distinctive voice, and it works. We go into Head Crusher. This was the first single. Head Crusher kicks ass. I can see why this was a single. This was nominated for a Grammy for Best Metal Performance the following year. It didn't win. Head Crusher kicks ass. I would say as a single, I would put this over some of the late 90s singles that were a little more AOR, meaning album-oriented rock. It was more hard rock than metal. Head Crusher is pretty wicked. It's 3.5 minutes. Great riffs on here. The chorus is very to the point, very, very strong. How the Story Ends is another cool track. At this point on the album, we're going more melodic metal, melodic hard rock. The thrash is mostly on the first half. This is a very cool track that I think should have ended the album. Not just because of the title, just because of the presentation. It sounds like an album closer, and it's very strong. The playing on here is excellent. Last track is The Right to Go Insane, which was a single, and it is a little more accessible than some of these tracks would be as far as a song going to radio. I think it's good, not great. I would have put this before How the Story Ends to end the album, but it's a good melodic hard rock track here. Very, very cool. Again, everything on here is good to great, most of it in the great category. And Andy Sneap's production on here is wonderful. All the performances are wonderful. You can really hear James's bass on here very, very clearly. I like to make sure I can hear the rhythm section when I listen to albums, and you really hear James and Sean very, very well. Excellent album. And one that doesn't get enough love or recognition, in my opinion. This is Megadeth's 12th album from 2009. This is Endgame. Now, thank you so much for watching. What do you think of Megadeth's music? What do you think of this album, Endgame? What are your favorite songs on Endgame? What would you have put out as the singles off of Endgame? What are your favorite albums by Megadeth? Have you ever seen Megadeth live? Megadeth is going to be going out this year. They're going to be doing some shows on their own, and then they're going to be opening for Iron Maiden, as Iron Maiden are playing the big arenas and small stadiums in late summer, early fall of 2026. Supposedly, this is going to be the last Megadeth album in 2026. Their self-titled album came out in January. I'm higher on this album. I will tell you that straight out. That album is good, but this album I think is great. Please let me know in the comments what you think of Megadeth's Endgame. Thank you so much for joining me today. Plenty more to come. Do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.